Shaun McAlister, DFW NORML.
Timer here. I'm going to try to keep it 15 minutes. You guys familiar with NORML? National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. NORML is a non-profit, public interest lobby that for more than 40 years has provided a voice for those Americans who oppose marijuana prohibition. We represent the interests of the tens of millions of Americans who smoke marijuana responsibly and believe the recreational and medicinal use of marijuana should no longer be a crime. We support the removal of all criminal penalties for the private possession and responsible use of marijuana by adults, including the cultivation for personal use and the casual, non-profit transfers of small amounts. This model, similar to that recommended to Congress by President Nixon's Schaefer Commission in 1972, is called decriminalization. Additionally, we support the development of a legally controlled market for marijuana where consumers could purchase it from a safe, legal, regulated source. This is called legalization. We believe that marijuana smoking is not for kids and should only be used responsibly by adults. As with alcohol consumption, it must never be an excuse for misconduct or other bad behavior. We strongly support the rights of patients to use marijuana as a medicine when their physician recommends it to relieve pain and suffering. In fact, NORML has been advocating for the legal use of medicinal marijuana since 1972, which is longer than I've been alive. Finally, NORML supports the right of farmers to commercially cultivate the non-psychoactive strain of cannabis known as hemp for industrial purposes such as food and fiber production. You know, a lot of people probably knew kind of all that about NORML, and I certainly did when I joined the organization in April of 2011. And one of the first things that I realized when I joined this group of people was there's a whole lot of great ideas, not a whole lot of action going on. And furthermore, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities for somebody like me, a young professional who wants to help, to step up and help. So I started talking to a lot of the people that I shared this organization with, and what I realized was that we were going through a time where we needed to change our strategy. We needed some new leadership. And so, along with Will Jenkins and a few of my other colleagues, we kind of stepped into the leadership of this organization. And since then, I'm proud to announce that we have more than doubled our active membership. And events like we did a couple of Saturdays ago in Dallas called Civic Wonder, where we bring out 500 Texans for the idea of legalization. With the thought behind it being that we just need to get out in the public and let people know that there's really nothing to be afraid of from us, you know? We're really not so bad, and in fact, the idea of a legal drug market really should appeal to a lot of people, you know. We're addicted to caffeine and prescription drugs already. We might as well use something that's non-toxic, not harmful for our bodies, and actually promotes a general sense of well-being. I mean, to call marijuana a drug, I think, is an undersell of what it actually is. It's a therapeutic herb. We need to be clear on that, and the language that we use to talk about this stuff is important, especially when we're talking to somebody who may be a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of talking about legal drugs. One of the things that we decided that we wanted to do with the organization is allow all the people that were as passionate about it as I am and the rest of us to take ownership of the organization. And so what we started doing is basically just giving out a whole lot of recognition for when people just showed up and did a good job, you know? And one of the things that I realized was people like to be appreciated. They like to be recognized. And by recognizing the people who go and do a great job for us on a Saturday night by going to a concert or to a church function or any opportunity to talk about marijuana with the community, it's going to encourage more people to do that because they're going to see that there are other people like them out there and nothing to be afraid of. Additionally, one of the most exciting things about NORML to me is it gives people an opportunity to engage in the political process, whereas they probably never would have. It makes freedom a topic of discussion whenever you're at the dinner table or, you know, at school or whatever. You know, it gives you an organization that has your back, that has the type of publicity behind it that, you know, I never would have. So when I go into a conversation with somebody like Allen, and I say that I'm from NORML, he knows what I'm about. And it's great to see that our organization is starting to get the type of publicity that I don't have to tell people what NORML means anymore. I mean, sometimes. And a year ago, when I got to that M in our name, people get uncomfortable. Immediately sees who is listening to this guy speak loudly about marijuana at the bank to me. And one of the things that I came to realize through all of this was, we gotta lead by example with this type of thing. If I expect people to join an organization that I'm the director of and be confident about it, well damn it, I need to be confident about it. And so I kind of changed up the format of how we have our meetings. Every month we meet at a Unitarian church in Arlington. It's good enough to have us. It has a big old legalization flag right as you walk in. And what that did for people is it gave them a sanctuary to talk about this type of thing. It gave them a place where they can go to be around the type of people that share their interest in this type of thing. Because just smoking marijuana, yeah, I mean, that's great if you decide to use that over alcohol, but really, it doesn't really do much for the movement. And in fact, oftentimes it hurts the movement. By just being a consumer and not actually standing up for any of your rights, all you're doing is just basically saying that you're okay with the status quo. And I just fundamentally have a problem with that. So I realized that, you know, if I was going to be a consumer of cannabis, it was important for me to be an advocate of it as well. And so, as most of you that are in this fight have probably known, when you get into volunteer work, it's really easy to just let it take control of your life. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the show Mad Men before, but I work for a marketing firm, okay? And it is one of the craziest freaking jobs I've ever had. Crazy hours, it doesn't matter, you gotta get shit done. And that's how I've taken my approach to NORML, was I'm gonna run this like a business, I'm gonna bring some accountability to this, I'm gonna start encouraging people to get more involved in this instead of just sitting around talking about, well, it should be legal, it could be legal, yada, yada, yada. Well, now, we're meeting every month and bringing more than 70 people to our campus. Our meetings are standing room only. Next month, we're going to have to find a new place to meet because, quite frankly, we can't house all these people in this small little church in Arlington. And so, what I want to continue to do with this organization is reach out to the type of people who have a vested interest in legalization and they may not even know it. People of color, I found, are vastly underrepresented in this fight for changing our laws, and I don't understand why that is. They see how excited we're making people about legalization. And it's refreshing, because you look at states like California or Oregon, we've already got a sort of legal system with medical marijuana. And it's a whole different fight over there. Over there, they're trying to split hairs about, oh, well, announce, well, that's not true legalization. True legalization, I should have as much as I want, just like alcohol. And the beauty of Texas not having a medical marijuana program is that we have no protection right now. And so it's very easy for everybody to get behind the fact that nobody is safe if you're using marijuana. Not me, not you. And so when we get together, I try to encourage people to be less afraid of their activism, to talk about this type of stuff, you know, whenever there's an opportunity to talk to a stranger about it. I personally have 3 or 4 weed conversations with strangers every day, and I have an overwhelmingly supportive group of people who I guess that I just magically find, because I can't even tell you the last time somebody had a problem with me talking about freedom, the freedom to put in my body what I choose, especially if it's not going to hurt me the way the legal alternatives are. And so as we move forward in 2012, you know, we don't have a state ballot initiative here in Texas, which, you guys know that, I mean, most of you are probably pretty savvy that here in Texas, we can't as a group say, you know what, we want to vote on something, we want to change this. We're going to write this, we're going to get some people to sign a petition, and we're going to vote on it. No, that's not the way it works in Texas. In Texas, we're relying 100% on the legislature, which for the most part doesn't give a shit about us, doesn't want to know the truth, and doesn't want to have their time wasted on talking about drugs. Well, so in 2012, what my organization and what other chapters around the country are going to try to do, and especially here in Texas, is to get people to realize that it's really more of a big deal because it's illegal. If this shit was legal, I wouldn't be up here talking about it to you today. And furthermore, there would be a whole lot less problems in our communities, and I, and the rest of the community, would have that much less to fear from our law enforcement, because I can remember stories when my dad used to tell me how he actually was friends with the cop who walked the beat that he lived on. You know, there was a time in America when we weren't afraid of law enforcement. And that is a time when I wasn't I didn't have to worry about the safety of myself, my son, family, just because of an herb that I use. And I think that we can return to that as a state, as a country, but it's not going to happen overnight. And all it's going to take is us getting out there and not being afraid to talk about this stuff with each other, because there's really nothing to fear except prohibition, because that's some scary shit out there. And so I'm not going to continue to kind of talk about the details of NORML or anything like that, because our website will answer a lot of those questions. If you just go to dfwnormal.org, normal without an A, you'll be able to get a little bit of info about me and kind of what we're doing. But instead, I would like to close with a speech that I delivered to almost 500 people 2 weeks ago in Dallas that is the most moving speech that I've ever heard in my life. And it's from a movie called The Great Dictator, starring Charlie Chaplin, in which he is mistaken for Adolf Hitler, and he has to give a speech in front of all these troops, or they're going to kill him. And this man worked for months on this speech, and the first time I heard it, I'll never forget it. And since then, I've probably heard it 1,000 times. And when I had the opportunity to speak at our march a couple of weeks ago, I knew that there was going to be a lot of people talking about a lot of smart things, and I could be one of those, or I could try to initiate some sort of emotional response from people, which I think is just as effective as hitting them with facts. And so with that captain's speech from The Great Dictator, set to some music to kind of put you guys in a mental space while I'm speaking. So the talk is less than 5 minutes from here. After this, I guess we'll jump into the Q&A, but bear with me for 5 minutes because it's going to get loud and I'm going to get what you probably perceive as angry, but I'm just passionate about it. Love you. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I'd like to help everyone if possible. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there is room for everyone, and the good earth is rich. With him, we can provide for everyone. Our way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The internet has brought us closer together. The very nature of the web cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. After this moment, our voice has the potential to reach millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. So long as we fight, liberty will never perish. People, don't accept slavery. Demand liberty. Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate. Only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke, it is written that the kingdom of God is within man. Not one man, not a group of men, but in all men. In you. You, the people, have the power. The power to grow happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. To make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us march for a new world. For a decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Let us march to fulfill that promise. Let us march to free the world, to do away with the war on certain American citizens using non-pharmaceutical, non-alcoholic, tobacco-free drugs, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us march for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. My friends, in the name of democracy, let us all unite.
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm ready to take this show on the road. I'm ready to march on Austin.